as we get them. We now move over to Europe for our next story, where a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in the Kremlin has concluded after approximately 3 hours. The talks, which came ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's Friday deadline, were focused on the Ukraine crisis and the future of Russia-U.S. strategic partnership. Kremlin aide Yuri Yushchanov reported that both sides discussed the situation in Ukraine and exchanged signals in a bid to find a way forward. Yushchanov described the talks as useful and constructive, but said it remains unclear whether a resolution is within reach. We're now joined by Raymond Vickery, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. He is a former Secretary of Commerce. Raymond, always a pleasure to talk to you. Raymond, what do you think is going to be the outcome of these talks? Do you think that Witkoff would have gone to put the pressure on Vladimir Putin? We saw it was all smiles when they met earlier today. Do you think that he came with Trump's stance of a more frustrated and imposing this deadline? Or how do you think that the US delegation would have approached these, and what can we expect from the outcomes?
Well, thanks very much for having me. It seems to me that you have to keep in mind that peace, like war, must be waged. And that means that it can't be just a one-off, person-to-person kind of meeting. Unfortunately, our President Trump views international relations like a real estate deal. The two leaders get together, they make a deal, and everything is settled, and there's a winner. And President Trump thinks that he will be the winner. And Mr. Witkoff, of course, is a former real estate developer, colleague of President Trump, and he takes that approach too. It takes a lot more than this great man to great man theory in order to be able to wage peace. And what it requires is a cooperative approach that can bring together those who have some influence with the Kremlin and are willing to stand up for democracy and the rule of law, the UN Charter and its non-invasion provisions that have kept the peace for 80 years. So yes, it's good that there is a talk, but it takes a lot more. It's time for other great democracies like India and others that have influence with the Kremlin to try to help in this peace effort, waging it so that the standards which have kept the peace largely since World War II will be upheld. I don't see that in the cards right now, but hope springs eternal, because Donald Trump has turned around completely. He was going to get this done on day one just by talking to his friend Putin. And of course, that hasn't happened. It isn't going to happen, and it's going to take a concerted effort to bring peace back to the European continent.
Raymond, what are your thoughts on Witkoff meeting Putin with a smile whilst there was Russian attacks barraging parts of Ukraine, including 2 deaths in the Zaporizhzhia region? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think that Putin and the Russians have played President Trump and his ambassador Witkoff all along. And Trump seems to have recognized this. There is no slacking off from the atrocious attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure, which has no other point than to intimidate and get the Ukrainians to surrender their sovereignty. This is all part of a mindset of Putin to restore Russian greatness by restoring the former Russian Empire, of which Ukraine was a part. But in 1994, both Russia, the United States, and the UK agreed that in turn for Ukraine giving up its nuclear weapons, all three of them would guarantee the sovereignty and security of Ukraine. Now that just hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen just on a one-to-one Witkoff to Putin talk, or what Trump would like to be able to say is that he will have one conversation with Putin, and somehow the war will end. And it's been proven. Trump has been in office for 6 months now. There's been no slacking off. And he recognized, at least in some of his talks, that Putin had been playing him all along. And that's the Russian approach to it. And it's going to require a concerted effort by nations across the board to bring peace.
Raymond Vickery, always a pleasure to talk to you. We now move over to the Indo-Pacific, where on the 80th anniversary of the